Today we drive along the Rio Grande Gorge, visit one of America's oldest communities at Taos Pueblo, drive along New Mexico's Enchanted Circle Scenic Highway, and enter the state of Colorado and end a whirlwind day of southwestern magic at a quaint lodge in a town called Center. At breakfast in the hotel in Taos, we overheard a conversation between an older hippie-looking woman and a guy in a cowboy hat who kept calling her ma'am. It seems like they'd just met, and she was recommending a book to him about the artist Francisco Goya. He got up and left, and she started bouncing a rubber ball on the ground. Then suddenly she turned to us and asked if we'd ever had real New York bagels, and then she praised China and Japan for not using wheat in their donuts. So after this eccentric but friendly meal, we checked out and drove to the Rio Grande Gorge Visitor Center, south of town. The guy working there muttered that today was his last day, but he gave us some ideas for things we could see. We got a brochure which expounds on what I was saying yesterday about the land being divided up here. Yellow parts are overseen by the Bureau of Land Management, green by the Forest Service, blue by the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish, orange by indigenous tribes, in this case the Tiwa of Taos Pueblo, and the white sections are privately owned. Adding to the confusion is that there is another unit here overseen by the National Park Service called Rio Grande Wild and Scenic River, which includes a section of the river here in northern New Mexico and also some down in southern Texas. There were no tokens at the visitor center, just this colorful pin for the Wild and Scenic River. But the day's first event was a very slow and scenic drive along the Rio Grande on Highway 570. It curves along with the river, a different perspective on what we were looking down at yesterday from the big ridge. The paved section hugs the riverbank, and you cross the river on the Taos Junction Bridge and climb up into an unpaved section with hairpin curves and thrilling views of this gorge. At the top it gets paved and flat again, and we retraced part of yesterday's driving. That same one building, and over the high bridge again, but this time towards Taos Pueblo, one of the very oldest continuously inhabited communities in the United States. This is quite a place. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's on the National Register of Historic Places, as well as the New Mexico State Register of Cultural Properties. It is estimated that the main central group of adobe rooms was built by the Tiwa people as early as 1000 AD, and they're still here. About 150 people live full-time in Taos Pueblo. You can walk around the small village and the little stream that runs through the middle of it and get a sense of life here, both now and in centuries past. Access to some of the rooms is by a hole in the roof, reached by ladders. In case of attack, the ladders can be pulled up. The church was built in 1850 and, like the other buildings, is maintained so that its original adobe construction remains sturdy against the elements. You can take tours of Taos Pueblo, and our guide led us around the village explaining its culture and history, including how bread is baked in these ovens, technology thanks to the Spanish. The tour ended at the cemetery and ruins of the original church, built by Spanish missionaries in 1620. It was destroyed by the Puebloans, but Catholicism is now the main religion here. A good example of how a community can persist through major changes. Some of the structures are private homes, but others are shops open to the public. In one of these, the Adobe Cafe, I had the Tiwa taco and some piñon coffee under a shady hut outside. A truly unique lunch. Taos Pueblo, thanks to our Tiwa hosts, was an eye-opening experience into intelligent use of land and resources, and also into how pride and determination can lead to perseverance. Our destination for the night was Colorado, but I'd planned a route that winds through the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in Carson National Forest. The guy in the visitor center this morning actually recommended this route, which surprised me because I thought I just made it up by looking at roads on the map. But actually, it's called the Enchanted Circle Scenic Highway, and it goes by high passes, wide valleys, scenic lakes, and majestic mountain views. This is Bobcat Pass, the highest in New Mexico at 9,820 feet, and it takes you down into the town of Red River, one of several great little historic places on the Enchanted Circle. And just up the road from Red River, we pulled off when we saw this, Eagle Rock Lake. We walked around the small lake with our cameras and tried to capture the sun in the water. And I was hoping to get photos of these ducks before they got scared and swam away, but actually, instead, they walked up onto the shore and straight at us. More friendly New Mexicans. One of them recommended a book about Goya to me. Veering off north from the Enchanted Circle, the land got flat and we entered a new state for the trip, Colorado. Similar to northern New Mexico, this part of Colorado is a great place to drive because of the unique little towns and the big mountain vistas, whether you're up on a high curvy road or in a flat valley looking up. We ended up in the town of Center, Colorado, in a place called Valley Haven Lodge. It's sort of like a big modern log cabin with private rooms and a communal kitchen. We made dinner, soup, and listened as a family checked in. The mother was explaining that her kid was sick and that they'd be needing an extra bucket for their room. Center is a quiet town, especially out here. And thanks to the way the fields are worked, it looks amazing in a satellite view. Our lodge is somewhere in here. It sort of reminded me of the patterns on the Navajo and Hopi pottery back in Taos Pueblo. So we took the opportunity to get a good night's sleep in our new state, despite the intermittent sounds of vomiting from down the hall. Life on the road is never boring. Tomorrow we hit another national park, Great Sand Dunes, and its disorienting windstorms. Then we drive through one of my favorite areas in the world, the high passes of the Rocky Mountains, on our way to a rugged old town called Leadville, where temperatures are forecast to be near freezing.